It's no secret that video is the most effective way to reach and engage your prospective clients and customers on social media today. And with rapidly advancing technology, which is becoming cheaper and cheaper by the day, it means that the barrier to entry is getting lower and lower. You can literally create world-class video with your iPhone for no more than a few $100s. But what this means is the marketplace is becoming saturated. There's so much information uploaded to the internet, to social media every single day. How do you stand out in this noise? How do you create video that's actually relevant to your audience, that's going to build that relationship and eventually turn them into customers? Well, today I'm sitting down with Roop Singh Sood. Now, Roop and I met actually working on the team of Frank Kern, who's one of the OGs of direct response marketing on the web. And it fast became apparent that Roop was a master of his craft, having worked in the past for huge agencies like Ogilvy, Saatchi & Saatchi, Fox brand partnerships, and then also moving on to creatively direct commercials on behalf of people like Rolex, Samsung, and Star Alliance. Roop seriously knows what he's talking about when it comes to video, and his progression into the online space gives him really great insight into what's actually happening on the most important social media platforms right now.
Welcome to the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow, where we get inside the minds of today's leading viral marketers as they reveal the exact strategies they use to build brands, products, and campaigns that are magnetic to customers, spread like wildfire, and seize the attention of millions. This is Viral by Design.
So Roop, everybody is trying to sell their stuff on the internet using video right now. What's the number one mistake that people and business owners particularly are making in trying to do that?
So I think people are not really considering their strategy. Everyone knows that you got to do video in 2019 and 2020, and everyone knows they need to jump on it and connect with their ideal clients with video, but they're not giving due kind of concern to the actual strategy point of it, exactly how they're going to connect to their clients, exactly how they're going to deliver those videos in terms of style potentially as well, and all those little aspects that come into, and then also in terms of what sort of schedule they're going to deliver the video content to their clients, their ideal clients, and then also what sort of platform they're going to distribute their content on as well. It's just it seems like a lot of people are just, they're buying a bunch of kit off Amazon, and then just kind of standing in front of a mobile phone or, small camera or whatever, and just filming a bunch of stuff and then just throwing it up on the internet and seeing what sticks, which is, a longer, more tortuous way of doing it, really, when really there's so much information now in Google, on Facebook, on Instagram, in terms of what sort of content your ideal clients are resonating with, and the different data set points that you can get from Google, in terms of what videos people are watching, and then Google Trends also in terms of what sort of questions people are asking in your industry. And then also Facebook will also give you a lot of audience insights in terms of what sort of books, films, pages your audience might potentially like. And you can use all this information to inform your video content and give you the best possible chance to connect with your ideal clients. So really, I think people need to start thinking about video in a much more strategic fashion rather than just trying to just film a bunch of content and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. I think there's so many people out there just screaming at you need to make video, you need to make video, you need to make video. And people really don't have a clue what to do. So they just, as you say, dive in front of a camera or just start filming their products and don't really have that much of a plan. So what you're talking about is a more kind of formulaic approach to actually go decide who it is you're trying to influence, what actually impacts them, and then finding out what kind of content they're resonating with. Now, the thing that really caught my ear there was when you spoke about the data points that people like Google and Facebook could provide you. So are you talking about some kind of specific tools or deep data analysis, or how does that actually work?
No, I mean, you've got a bunch of free resources, really, to be honest with you. You've got Google Trends, you've got YouTube itself, and you can actually just type in your particular keywords like around your industry, and you can start seeing immediately. YouTube will give you auto suggestions in terms of what people might be searching for. You've got the Google search tab as well. But then you can also use the keyword planner as well to see what sort of content is being advertised as well. And then in Facebook, you have Facebook Audience Insights as well, which is a free resource as well. So there's plenty of free resources. Of course, there are paid options as well if you want to get into a bit more of a deeper kind of dive into, depending on what platform you're using. You could use something like TubeBuddy on YouTube to get more information. You could use SEMrush or something to just get more information from an SEO point of view in terms of what sort of content is resonating from a print point of view, and then that digital print point of view, which can also help you, give you ideas in terms of like what sort of video content you can create. Because if there's a bunch of articles that people have been reading and there's no videos on that, then that represents an opportunity for you.
Right, that's really interesting. That's very interesting indeed. So, in terms of you mentioned a few different platforms there. You mentioned Instagram, you mentioned YouTube, you mentioned Facebook. In your opinion, is there the kind of the premium, the best platform for people to discover video on, or for people to be focusing on their efforts on? Say if it's like a small business owner, they don't obviously don't want to spread themselves too thin across all platforms. Is there one specific place you think they should focus their efforts?
That's a good question. It's like Gary Vee says, get on them all. But obviously, not everyone has the resources to do that. I think it really comes down to what sort of business you're in. So, for example, if you're a roofing company, I would say, like if you're in an intent-based industry, like something that needs to be done immediately, or within the next 3 months, then I would suggest veering towards Google and YouTube. Just purely because you can get you can actually find if you wanted to leverage that content for advertising, you could access the Google in-market audiences. So, for example, there are certain audiences that Google knows are in market for example, roofs or plumbing or electrical work, things like that, or even like shopping, like apparel shopping. But then if you're, say, for example, like a coach, then, Google and YouTube might not make so much sense for you because people are not actively going out and searching for those keywords. So it might, Facebook might make a bit more sense in that sense. So especially if you're, doing business coaching, because, it's an older demographic and, it's more likely they're going to be on Facebook, potentially even LinkedIn. But if you're dealing with a younger crowd, then, if your product or service is, geared towards a younger demographic, then I think Instagram makes much more sense. So it really depends on what your product service is and what sort of demographic you're trying to reach.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's interesting, the first 2 points that we've hit there is what kind of content you should be creating, and the response is go and look at what they're already looking at, find out where they're already paying attention, kind of, right? And then where should you be focusing your efforts platform-wise? Go and find out where they're paying their attention. I think this is something that, people often lose sight of, is the fact that, rather than trying to force content into a place, just because everyone's telling you need to be on YouTube, actually stepping back and considering who they are and where they are first is like a really good first step, right? So
exactly. I mean, the strategy is the most important. It's just all the big players, all the big brands, big companies, they're all starting to put in chief. You've got chief financial officers, chief technology officers. Now you're getting these chief directors of video strategy as well coming in. We're basically considering it from a holistic kind of strategic point of view, like over the course of like 12 months to 24 months. So, it's really important to think about strategy, especially going forward.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So regards to, there was a really good point I wanted to make there. This whole subject is fascinating, so this is something which keeps coming up time and time again, which actually you just sparked my memory on this, is that A lot of people are moving away from using Facebook and YouTube as advertising platform, or not moving away from it, but people are reconsidering it as a testing ground, right? Because, rather than having to, this was the Harmon brothers ahead talking about this the other day. So rather than having to have like a test audience, like kind of what do they call that? Like when they put out a film to like a small audience, it's like a beta group, right? Or something.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I can't remember the exact word for it, but yeah.
Yeah. So that'll come to me immediately as we get off this call. But, So rather than having to like sit people down in a room and say, hey, what did you think? What did did you stick into the end, etc., etc. You can literally just throw stuff up, like 4 or 5 different split tests of the same video, and then find out exactly what people think because you can see the drop off curve. I think that whole wave approach of things is just fascinating, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's and that's why data is so important. And like I've been in advertising for a fair while now. Like back in 2006, from going forward from there, like I was like doing like the Ford account at Ogilvy and things, and even then we would like look at data. It's just we just didn't have the data from Google and Facebook per se. We had data from like market research that had been done on the street or in dealerships or whatever, and then we would have paperwork and we would look at all the data points, and then we would inform the creative from that. And then we had this like interim, a small period where it was kind of like the Wild West, and like it was so easy to kind of get out there and hit people through digital video, and but there wasn't enough data anyway. But now it's come back to the point where I mean there's such a wealth of data out there. It's just like it would just be stupid not to use it to inform your content, and then and like you say, to do the split tests. And so in the old days the split tests would happen too, but the feedback wasn't immediate. Now today you have a situation where the feedback is almost immediate, so you can iterate like immediately. So you could be editing a video one day and then the next day do a complete re-edit, a process that in the old days might have taken like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. I think we just like generally don't realize how lucky we are nowadays. Like we've got all this technology flooding. But at the same time, I guess is that people are drowning in information and drowning in options, which is why it's always fascinating talking to you about the more kind of data driven approach and like going back and forth and just being a bit disciplined about it. So that's always really interesting to talk about. So talking about specifically smaller business owners, people who don't have like the huge budgets of advertising agencies and mega brands and even startups that just got funded, do people need to spend a fortune getting this done, or is there a way that people can do effective video on a budget?
Oh, definitely. You can do it. Like I said, there's so many free resources, free data resources nowadays. Like, it's just, you can use Google, you can use YouTube, you can use Facebook, all these, all the different audience insights that all these platforms have. I mean, depending on at what level you're at, like whether if you're bootstrapping, of course you could do it all yourself, or you could get you could get a VA to get all the information for you in terms of what's being consumed out there and what's resonating. The information is easily accessible. It's not the cost of entry has gone down so much. It's like if you're a startup and just got funded, or you're bootstrapping your business and you're not using these platforms, the data that these platforms give you to inform your strategy, your video strategy, even your business strategy, like going forward, then you're probably not going to last for long, to be completely frank.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is when I was starting out, I used to hate the idea of split testing and iteration because not necessarily because I was lazy, but I think because you've got so much happening as a small business owner, right? Especially if you're a startup and you've got so much on your plate, and then you suddenly realize that if you're ever going to make this business work, you actually need to get people to know about it. You need to make some noise, right? And the ideal situation, I guess, is just to be able to go, oh, okay, I've had this idea for a video, I put it up there and it'll work. And frustratingly, 99 times out of 100, not that it doesn't work, but it needs iterating on to be profitable, right? And this, this whole concept of split testing and testing lots of different things and doing different iterations and go back and re-editing, to me was just like, I wish this was just over and dealt with. But now this is something which I embrace, the ability to go back and make improvements and see what's happening and constantly get better and better and better. And I think, as you say, with the data that we get back and the ability and the tools, if you can then even just take that concept and put it into a framework and give it to a virtual assistant to say, right, go and research this, have the kind of frameworks in place that you can take it off your plate but still get the benefits. I think that's probably the best move forward for a small business owner, right?
No, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, you just it's just another way to reach your customer, and it's the most immediate way really in today's world, and it's just shouldn't be neglected. Even if you're a brick and mortar business, to be completely honest with you, because like from a local point of view as well, like the targeting, it's really important.
Yeah. So I know you do paid and you also do organic as well. So specifically, something that really interests me that I'm personally getting a lot more into recently is YouTube and organic. So can you give some insight into like your process of fifth weapon? Like when a client comes to you, how you kind of identify what they need to be hitting, what their strategy should be?
Sure. Are you talking about in YouTube specifically, or are you just talking about in general?
Well, yeah, I'm particularly. It's probably selfish of me to ask just about YouTube. So I'd say, in fact, it's for everyone else listening, just in general.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the first thing is to really just understand what it is that they're selling, what their product and service is. So we do a deep dive first into what the actual product service is, and then also who the actual client is, the ideal client, the perfect customer. Once we've got a handle on that, then we go off and we do our research on what sort of content they're consuming, what sort of content they're resonating with, and we do the keyword research around that from YouTube, Google, and then also the hashtag research on Instagram, and then also the audience insight work on Facebook. And then we come up with a strategy on that, depending where we think they're going to get the most bang for their buck. If they've got lower budgets, but if they've got higher budgets and they want to be omnipresent, then then we come up with strategic approach to all the platforms. And then from there, then we devise a content schedule, and then we go into production really, and then we just and we hit our schedule marks, and and going after about a month, once we've got data coming in, we start iterating from there, and then feeding back into the schedule as and when we need.
Right, got you. So, and in terms of like those strategies, what is the kind of the most important thing? Is it consistency, or is it quality, or because this is a big thing which is coming up more and more recently in conversations that I've been having is, does it need to be high quality, or is it just more important to be in front of people all the time, constantly creating new content?
I think it's more important to be in front of people consistently, and then having good quality content in terms of answering their questions. It doesn't need to be high production value per se, but it does need to be quality content in that you need to be answering the questions that are specific to them. And if you're not, then why are people going to watch? So like, people don't care if it's a guy standing in front of a phone or walking along the street or whatever. If you're answering their questions and you're giving them value, they'll watch. So yeah, so the cost of entry from a data point of view has come down, and the cost of entry from a production point of view has also come down as well, because it's really just about delivering the information that they need.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I guess if there's so many more people entering the market, there's so much more noise. Like the only way you can really stand out is by actually providing a message that people attract to, right? Because it is like
Exactly.
remarkably easy now to create pretty high quality content. I know I've been doing a lot of content recently just with the front camera of my iPhone, and the people have been asking me what camera are you using for that, like expecting me to say some kind of like DSLR or mirrorless or something. Just literally my iPhone is just actually getting on it and doing it, right?
Yeah, I just actually recently sold my mirrorless camera, got rid of it, just a whole bunch of equipment basically, because like the iPhones today, they're just so good. And, the advancements in like camera technology in smartphones, even the Samsung, it's pretty amazing the quality that you can get. And really all you need is just some sort of external mic And if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you could get yourself like smaller lens attachments to your phones, and maybe like a cage for your phone, so they can connect to a tripod or something. And that's about it. The total investment, if you wanted to get a bit fancy, is probably not going to be more than $500. So, and the quality that you're getting nowadays is pretty amazing.
That's very interesting. So the one thing that caught my interest there is an external mic. So what would you recommend for that? Because this is something which I've struggled with in the past, is actually getting a decent mic that you can use outside. And I've seen I saw a clip on one, which I won't mention the brand name for fear of offending anyone, but the actual ad itself showing the quality for the mic, you could tell the quality of the mic wasn't that great. It looked fantastic because it would connect to your phone via Bluetooth, but not that great in terms of quality. What sort of thing did you recommend to record to an iPhone?
Yeah, so you can get. It depends on. Depends what sort of videos you're doing, but yeah, I mean, anything by Rode is pretty good, and then Sennheiser too. That's I would go with those. I wouldn't really go with the cheaper brands or the Chinese knockoffs, because just purely because the audio is really important, because people judge the quality of the video more on audio than they do on the video. So if your audio is good and people can hear you, that's the most important. But yeah, anything by Rode. There's a couple of different mics they've got, which just essentially connect via your stereo jack into your phone. There is the Rode Wireless Go, which has just come out as well, which is a cool little. It's really small, like this, and that can be used wirelessly as well as connected into your phone. So it gives you a bit more options.
That's awesome. That's very good. Very, very good to know. Actually, I might be googling both of those when we get off this episode. So knowing what you do about video, and obviously you're kind of immersed in it every single day, and you've got this whole back catalogue of experience working for huge brands and huge advertising agencies. So you've got a really good 1,000-foot view on what's happened in the past and what could potentially happen in the future. What's the most exciting trend that you can see currently happening, or that will be happening pretty soon?
The whole host of direct response commercials that are being made. That's really exciting to me, because in the old days, it used to be either direct response or brand work, right? And now you've got somewhere in the middle, because you are getting immediate data feedback. So you've got and it all started with the Dollar Shave Club style commercials, and and then stuff that the Harmon brothers have been doing, where you're actually delivering information in a much more it's direct response, but it's being delivered in a much more creative and much more kind of comedic, kind of branded sense, rather than a direct sales video. So for me, that's the most exciting space right now, because that's just exploding, especially with the whole e-commerce businesses out there, and then also brick and mortar businesses investing into their video. I think that represents the best bang for your buck going forward.
Got it. Yeah, I love that, and I love the fact that I had this quote earlier on this week, which absolutely summed everything up perfectly, and that was, get this blew me away. The only currency that we have to win the attention of our audience is entertainment. And that just completely blew me away. It completely answers how people like the Harmon Brothers and Dollar Shave and these kind of infomercial style ads, and even I saw a few that you've been doing as well with is it phone sites?
Yeah, phone sites.
Yeah, those kind of ads that are actually entertaining people at the same time, educating them about brands. It's just so powerful, and it just it blows the door wide open on what is really possible with social media, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because previously you wouldn't get the feedback, so the actual business owners wouldn't know whether that creative would potentially even work, and so they were unwilling to take those risks. But now, the Harmon, you were talking about your podcast you listen to with Harmon Brothers, you can do 3-4 different iterations of creative to which is more entertaining, and then work out what's working and then connect, basically. So yeah, it represents opportunities for all sorts of people, like, not just from a business owner point of view, but also for creatives, creative directors and stuff like myself, who, we can start making more interesting stuff, and entertaining your audiences, and also delivering the information that you need to deliver to them, and then getting them into your, inverted commas, sales funnel stroke, sales or whatever, depending on what you're doing, whether you're an e-com or coach or whatever.
Got it. So this has been a really great conversation, and it's summarized a lot of really fantastic points. So if I was to rerun through what you've advised, then the strategy would kind of go like this: identify who, and tell me if this is right. Identify who it is that you're going after, exactly who your customer is. Go take a look at exactly what kind of content they're consuming and where that content is. Create various different iterations of the content for them that educates them and also entertains them at the same time. Run that on the various different platforms and then get feedback to find out what's working and what's not, and reiterate. Is that about right?
Basically, yeah, in a nutshell.
Love it. That's awesome. So what are you doing with Fifth Weapon right now? And what's your kind of plans going forward?
So yeah, no, we're working on a couple of different things. I mean, like I said, direct response commercials, that's where we see, like, the most potential for growth, especially because, you can get immediate feedback with the data. So yeah, we're focusing on, I'm calling it direct response commercial. Some people call it brand response. So, in that space, that's kind of where we're focused. And then even like, the webinar area, for example, like even that, like, in the old days, the webinars was just like somebody standing in front of the camera and just speaking straight to the audience. But there's more creative ways to do that now. I mean, we've just done something very interesting for Ryan Schumann and phone sites as well, like on the webinar front as well, in addition to the brand direct response commercial that we did for them as well. And we're working with a couple of other clients in those areas to basically upgrade that content, and just basically create something more visually interesting and like more creative, and it doesn't need to cost the earth really to do that. It's just, it's like I said, you can shoot a lot of it on iPhones and stuff nowadays. So even the commercials that we're shooting, to be honest with you.
Really? Right. Okay. So even like it's a good enough quality that you're shooting entire commercials with iPhones now?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, the phone sites commercial I did, my A cam was mirrorless, but my B cam was an iPhone.
Really? That's crazy, isn't it?
So because that allows you to bring costs down for the actual business owner as well from a production point of view. So all of it starts, working together and starts making more sense for the business owner, because then suddenly you can start creating more entertaining content, without the high end expense that you might have thought that you needed to put down to create that content.
So I guess because you said that you used your B cam was an iPhone, so what people could be doing if they wanted to get like 3-4 shots for whatever they're recording, they could just go to like Craigslist or wherever you get like a second-hand phone from and just pick up a bunch of iPhones and use them.
Yeah, you could. It's not the technology that's so much the barrier. It's like it's more about getting the right person behind the technology to be able to leverage that to get the best results for you. I mean, even though we're shooting on iPhones, we are using manual settings, and we're using like apps to basically give us like control over our phones to get the best settings, to get the best results out of the phone. I mean, we're not shooting on auto mode on the iPhones.
Yeah, cool. Got it. Roop, this has been absolutely fascinating. If like the whole concept end to end of like just identifying what people are already paying attention to, not getting stressed out about like how much money you're spending and whether it needs to look great, and just creating relevant content is something which, I think all of us just need to really internalize. Thank you so much for your time. If anybody wants to find out more about what you do or how they can work with you, how can they get in touch?
So yeah, they can, you can go to my website, www.fifthweapon.com, or you can go to Instagram, Fifth Weapon, basically, and that's Fifth with FIFTH and Weapon as in WEAPON. And you can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, the website, and any of those platforms, or you could go to roop.fifthweapon.com, and you can request a call from there.
Awesome. Sounds great. Roop, thank you so much for your time, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, Dave. Nice talking to you, man.
This has been the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow. For more viral marketing secrets and to get detailed cliff notes on all episodes, visit viralbydesign.net.